In a rapidly evolving geopolitical landscape, Secretary of State Marco Rubio's recent engagements highlight a pivotal moment for U.S. foreign policy, particularly in Latin America and the Middle East. During a joint press availability with Costa Rican President Rodrigo Chaves, Robles, Rubio underscored the significance of bilateral relations and the shared commitment to democracy and economic stability in the region. This meeting, held on February 4, 2025, comes at a time when U.S. influence in Central America faces challenges from various external forces, including China and Russia. Rubio's remarks reflected a nuanced understanding of the region's complexities. "We must strengthen our partnerships to ensure that democracy thrives in Latin America," he stated, emphasizing the need for collaborative efforts to counteract authoritarian regimes and promote sustainable economic growth. The Secretary's visit to Costa Rica, a country known for its long-standing democratic traditions, signals a renewed focus on strengthening ties with allies who share similar values. This visit is part of a broader strategy aimed at repositioning U.S. foreign policy under the Biden administration, which has sought to re-establish America as a key player in global affairs. Analysts view Rubio's approach as an attempt to balance traditional alliances with emerging threats. The U.S. must be proactive in addressing the challenges posed by geopolitical rivals in the region, said Dr. Maria Gonzalez, a political analyst at the Center for International Relations. Strengthening ties with nations like Costa Rica is essential for maintaining influence. Meanwhile, Rubio's stance on the Middle East has also been making headlines, particularly his support for a controversial plan regarding U.S. involvement in Gaza. In remarks made on February 5, 2025, the Secretary backed a proposal for a U.S. takeover of Gaza, a move that has elicited mixed reactions domestically and internationally. Critics argue that such an approach could exacerbate tensions in an already volatile region. This proposal risks inflaming an already complex situation and could further alienate key allies in the Middle East, cautioned Dr. Samir Ali, a Middle Eastern studies expert. Despite the contentious nature of the Gaza proposal, Rubio's administration is betting on a multipolar strategy that recognizes the shifting dynamics of global power. His comments regarding the necessity of navigating a multipolar world have sparked discussions among foreign policy experts. America's strategy must adapt to the realities of a world where power is distributed among multiple nations, Rubio remarked, calling for a re-evaluation of U.S. diplomatic tactics. As the Biden administration continues to grapple with these multifaceted challenges, Rubio's initiatives signal a potential shift in U.S. foreign policy that prioritizes engagement and cooperation with allies while confronting adversaries. Looking ahead, the implications of these developments will be significant for both regional stability and U.S. global standing. The coming months will likely reveal how effectively the administration can implement these strategies in the face of mounting criticism and the ever-changing geopolitical landscape. In a notable shift in the political landscape, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell recently demonstrated a willingness to break from the traditional party line by opposing the nomination of Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. This decision marks a significant moment not only for McConnell's political trajectory but also for the ongoing relationship between the Republican Party and former President Donald Trump. Historically, McConnell had been a staunch ally of Trump, orchestrating many legislative victories during his first term. However, as the landscape evolves, his rejection of Hegseth serves as a potential declaration of independence from Trump's influence. The Senate's vote on Hegseth culminated in a 50-50 tie, ultimately resolved by Vice President J.D. Vance's casting vote in favor of Hegseth, a former Fox News host with a controversial record. McConnell, alongside moderate senators like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, articulated their concerns about Hegseth's qualifications for leading the Pentagon. In a powerful statement, McConnell asserted mere desire to be a change agent is not enough to fill these shoes, underlining the significant responsibilities that accompany the role, which oversees nearly 3 million military and civilian personnel and manages a budget close to $1 trillion. In the wake of Hegseth's confirmation, concerns are mounting regarding his approach to media relations and military policy. Reports indicate a troubling trend in Hegseth's early days as Secretary of Defense, particularly his apparent endorsement of the Trump administration's adversarial stance towards the press. Major news outlets like the New York Times and NBC have been evicted from their long-standing positions within the Pentagon press corps, replaced by more partisan outlets. This move has raised alarms among journalists and media analysts who fear it signals a dangerous shift away from transparency and accountability within the military establishment. Moreover, scrutiny of Hegseth's financial connections sheds light on potential conflicts of interest. His Venmo account reveals a network populated with executives from major defense contractors and health companies, including United Health, which has a vested interest in the privatization of military healthcare. Such connections could influence Hegseth's policy decisions, particularly in light of his history advocating for the privatization of the Department of Veterans Affairs. Critics argue that this could lead to a prioritization of corporate interests over the welfare of veterans and active service members. Adding to the controversy, Hegseth has also moved to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) initiatives within the military. His recent memo explicitly orders the elimination of race-conscious admissions at military academies, a directive that contradicts the Supreme Court's nuanced stance on diversity in military training institutions. This decision, framed as an enforcement of a Trump-era executive order, has sparked legal challenges and further ignites the debate over the role of diversity in national security. As the political ramifications of Hegseth's confirmation unfold, the implications for the military, the media, and broader governance are profound. McConnell's stand against Trump's nominee signals a potential realignment within the Republican Party, where moderates may begin to assert greater influence. Meanwhile, Hegseth's controversial policies and connections could reshape the Department of Defense in ways that prioritize corporate interests and undermine the critical role of a free press. Looking ahead, the landscape remains fluid, with the potential for further conflicts as Hegseth navigates his new role amidst increasing scrutiny. It is clear that as the administration continues to grapple with these challenges, the repercussions will reverberate through the military, the media, and the political fabric of the United States for years to come. The trajectory of Hegseth's leadership will likely be a focal point of discussion as both supporters and detractors monitor his performance and its impact on national security and democratic accountability. In a significant development within U.S. politics, the Senate Finance Committee voted narrowly on February 4, 2025 to advance Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nomination as Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services (HHS). This pivotal decision, passed by a 14-13 vote along party lines, sets the stage for a full Senate vote where Republican control may bolster Kennedy's chances despite his controversial background. Kennedy, a member of the storied Kennedy family and a well-known figure in the anti-vaccine movement, has drawn scrutiny for his public statements and past actions regarding vaccines and public health. During his confirmation hearings, he faced intense questioning about his qualifications to lead a vast agency responsible for critical health initiatives, including the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) and the Food and Drug Administration (FDA). His previous assertions, notably a claim that no vaccine is safe and effective, highlighted the challenges he would face in securing bipartisan support. Senator Bill Cassidy, a physician and the pivotal swing vote on the committee, expressed skepticism about Kennedy's qualifications early in the process. However, after extensive discussions with Kennedy and assurances from the White House, Cassidy shifted his stance and endorsed the nomination. Mr. Kennedy and the administration committed that he and I would have an unprecedentedly close collaborative working relationship if he is confirmed, Cassidy stated after the vote, indicating a willingness to work together on public health matters. His support was crucial given that Kennedy's nomination had faced resistance from both sides of the aisle due to concerns over his anti-vaccine stance and potential conflicts of interest. In response to criticism, Kennedy sought to clarify his position during the hearings, emphasizing that he does not oppose vaccines but advocates for more rigorous safety testing. Despite his attempts to distance himself from the anti-vaccine community, his connections were evident. prominent activists were present during the committee meeting to support him. The tension surrounding his nomination reflects broader societal divisions over vaccination and public health policies, particularly in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. As the nomination progresses to the full Senate, Kennedy's confirmation is anticipated to further ignite debates over public health strategy in the United States. The Republican-controlled Senate may offer him a favorable environment, but the controversy surrounding his past comments and affiliations could complicate his role if confirmed. If appointed, Kennedy has indicated intentions to reform the food and healthcare systems, significantly potentially impacting various regulations and public health initiatives. Meanwhile, other significant nominations from the Trump administration are also advancing. Tulsi Gabbard, nominated for Director of National Intelligence, faced a narrow vote but managed to secure support amid scrutiny over her controversial positions. Gabbard's prior connections with contentious figures and her evolving political identity from a Democrat to a Republican add layers of complexity to her nomination as well. The upcoming Senate vote on Kennedy's nomination will not only determine the future leadership of HHS but may also signal the direction of healthcare policy in the United States. As public health challenges continue to evolve, the implications of Kennedy's potential confirmation could have lasting impacts on vaccine policy, disease prevention, and the overall trust in health institutions. Observers will be watching closely as this political saga unfolds, particularly regarding how the Senate balances partisanship with public health imperatives in an increasingly polarized environment. In a significant development for the Trump administration, Pam Bondi has been confirmed as the new Attorney General of the United States. This announcement marks a pivotal moment as Bondi, formerly the Attorney General of Florida, prepares to take charge of the Justice Department amidst a rapidly changing political landscape. With her confirmation, Bondi is expected to assert control quickly and implement policies reflective of the Trump administration's priorities. The U.S. Senate voted in favor of Bondi's nomination early on Wednesday, with a strong bipartisan majority supporting her appointment. As reported by various sources, the Senate's approval underscores a growing trend of Trump nominees advancing through legislative hurdles, further solidifying the administration's influence in key governmental roles. The final vote in the Senate displayed a clear mandate for Bondi, with many senators expressing confidence in her ability to lead the Justice Department effectively. Bondi's track record as Florida's Attorney General has been both praised and criticized, making her an intriguing choice for this high-profile position. Supporters commend her efforts in tackling issues such as human trafficking and Medicaid fraud, while detractors point to her controversial ties to the Trump Organization during her previous tenure. Despite the mixed reviews, Bondi's close alignment with Trump's policies is expected to facilitate a smoother transition and implementation of the administration's agenda. Following her confirmation, Bondi is anticipated to move swiftly on several pressing issues, including immigration enforcement and civil rights cases that have been at the forefront of the Justice Department's agenda. Analysts suggest that her approach may mirror that of her predecessors, but with a distinctively Trumpian twist that could recalibrate the department's focus on law and order. The confirmation of Pam Bondi signifies a strong commitment to the Trump administration's agenda, noted a political analyst. Her history in Florida suggests she will prioritize aggressive law enforcement strategies, particularly in areas that resonate with the administration's base. As Bondi prepares to take office, the implications of her leadership could have lasting effects on the Justice Department's operations and its relationships with other governmental agencies. Observers are keenly watching how she will handle ongoing investigations and her approach to issues such as gun control and voting rights, which have been contentious topics during the Trump presidency. The confirmation of Bondi is part of a broader trend of Trump's nominees taking the reins in critical government positions, a strategy that aims to bolster the administration's hold on policymaking. As such, her swearing-in is not just a personal milestone but a signal of the administration's intent to drive its agenda forward with renewed vigor. Looking ahead, the political landscape remains dynamic and Bondi's actions in the coming weeks will be closely scrutinized. Her ability to navigate the complexities of her new role while adhering to the administration's directives will determine the trajectory of the Justice Department in the years to come. As the country watches, Bondi's leadership will be a crucial element in shaping the future of American law and governance. In a significant political development, the U.S. Senate has confirmed Scott Bessent as Secretary of the Treasury, bestowing upon him a pivotal role in shaping the administration's economic agenda. The confirmation, which passed with a vote of 68 to 29, comes at a time when President Donald Trump aims to advance his ambitious financial policies, including tax reforms and international trade strategies. Bessent, a seasoned investor and founder of Key Square Capital Management, steps into this critical position amid a backdrop of economic growth characterized by a low unemployment rate of 4.1%. However, challenges loom large, particularly concerning the federal debt limit and persistent inflation that exceeds the Federal Reserve's target. During his confirmation hearing, Bessent emphasized his commitment to making the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act permanent, attributing budgetary challenges primarily to spending rather than revenue shortfalls. His proposed 3-3-3 economic plan aims to reduce the federal budget deficit to 3%, achieve a 3% GDP growth rate, and increase oil production by 3 million barrels per day by the end of Trump's second term. Notably, Bessent's appointment marks a historic milestone as he becomes the first openly gay Treasury Secretary and the first LGBTQ Senate-confirmed cabinet member in a Republican administration. Trump lauded Bessent as a staunch advocate of the America First agenda, asserting that his leadership would usher in a new golden age for the U.S. economy, solidifying its position as a global leader in innovation and capital. However, Bessent's tenure has already been shadowed by controversy. Shortly after his confirmation, a coalition of labor unions filed a lawsuit against the Treasury Department alleging that Bessent permitted Elon Musk and his associates from the Department of Government Efficiency (DOGE) to access sensitive personal and financial information of millions of Americans. The lawsuit claims that this access violates privacy laws, raising concerns about the protection of citizens' sensitive data. Union leaders such as Everett Kelly from the American Federation of Government Employees have spoken out against what they perceive as an alarming intrusion into citizens' privacy, emphasizing the necessity of safeguarding personal information from unauthorized access. Adding to the challenges, Bessent has also been appointed as the acting director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau (CFPB), where he has reportedly instructed staff to halt nearly all ongoing activities, effectively freezing the agency's operations. His directive aligns with Trump's broader agenda to lower costs for Americans, but has raised alarms among consumer advocates who fear that essential protections may be compromised. As Bessent navigates these tumultuous waters, he faces a dual challenge of promoting the administration's fiscal policies while addressing significant public concerns over privacy and regulatory oversight. The coming months will be critical, as Bessent confronts not only the immediate pressures of the federal debt limit and trade tariffs but also the backlash against perceived overreach into citizens' private lives. The implications of Bessent's actions and decisions at the Treasury will likely ripple through various sectors of the economy, influencing market confidence and shaping public sentiment toward the administration's economic policies. As the situation unfolds, stakeholders will be closely monitoring the Treasury's approach to balancing economic ambitions with the fundamental rights of American citizens, setting the stage for a contentious political landscape ahead. In a pivotal moment for U.S. tech policy, last week's Senate confirmation hearings for key nominees presented an opportunity to glean insights into the administration's stance on technology-related issues. Howard Lutnick for Secretary of Commerce, Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence, Kash Patel for FBI Director, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for Secretary of Health and Human Services faced rigorous questioning from senators, revealing potential directions for U.S. technology and cybersecurity policies under President Donald Trump. The hearings, held on January 30, 2025, were initially not centered on technology. However, the discussions quickly pivoted to pressing tech issues, particularly as they relate to national security. Lutnick in particular was under scrutiny regarding the U.S. response to China's advancements in artificial intelligence and other technologies. He accused China of intellectual property theft related to its DeepSeek AI project and suggested that tariffs could be used to reinforce export controls. Export controls not backed by tariffs are like a whack-a-mole model, Lutnick stated, emphasizing the need for a comprehensive strategy to safeguard U.S. technology. Senator Ed Markey, Democrat, Massachusetts, pressed Lutnick on his commitment to honoring existing CHIPS Act grant contracts, to which Lutnick responded hesitantly, highlighting the complexity of the agreements. His reluctance raised concerns about the administration's dedication to previously established tech initiatives. Furthermore, Lutnick's views on the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program (BEAD) showcased his intention to broaden the scope of broadband access, advocating for a combination of satellite, wireless, and fiber optic technologies. Meanwhile, Tulsi Gabbard's confirmation hearing highlighted her ambivalence towards tech surveillance and encryption policies. When questioned by Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Democrat, New York, about the complexities of U.S.-China relations and national security challenges, Gabbard reiterated her support for encryption without backdoors, warning that such measures could undermine civil liberties. Her previous opposition to the law aimed at banning TikTok and efforts to repeal Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act (FISA) drew sharp criticism from her peers, underscoring the tension between security and privacy in today's digital landscape. Kash Patel, nominated for FBI director, faced inquiries regarding the practicality of enforcing warrant requirements for accessing citizens' communications under Section 702. Patel contended that such a requirement would hinder the agency's ability to protect American citizens, a position that drew skepticism from several senators who cited improper surveillance instances in the past. The hearings revealed a growing concern about the balance between national security and individual privacy rights, a topic that has become increasingly contentious in recent years. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. discussed the potential role of artificial intelligence in healthcare during his hearing, touting its promise to revolutionize patient care. He claimed that the Cleveland Clinic had developed an AI nurse indistinguishable from a human, a statement later clarified by the institution as inaccurate. Nonetheless, Kennedy's remarks aligned with the administration's focus on leveraging technology to improve healthcare outcomes, particularly in rural areas struggling with hospital closures. Amid these discussions, President Trump's announcement of a new U.S. sovereign wealth fund aimed at capitalizing on emerging technologies, including TikTok, positioned the administration firmly within the tech investment arena. The fund is envisioned as a vehicle to harness profits from significant tech assets, and Lutnick has been tasked with leading its development alongside Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The proposed fund is reminiscent of initiatives seen in other nations, although it raises questions about the feasibility of its establishment given the current budgetary constraints. As the Senate continues to deliberate on these appointments and policies, the implications for U.S. tech policy are significant. The administration's approach towards tariffs on technology, state surveillance, cybersecurity, and investment in emerging technologies will shape the landscape of innovation and privacy rights in the years to come. The outcomes of these hearings suggest a potential shift towards a more aggressive stance against foreign competition, particularly from China, and a complex balancing act between securing national interests and preserving individual freedoms. As these nominees await confirmation, the technology sector watches closely, anticipating how these policy directions will unfold under the new administration.